For the 2024 WNBA draft, USA Today sports columnist Christine Brennan made a phone call to a top official in the WNBA. Quote, "Do you know how big this is?" Brennan asked. That official said Clark's arrival was the biggest thing to happen to the WNBA since Maya Moore came into the league. Folks, Christine Brennan knew that answer right there was like, oh crap. They have no idea what's fixing to happen. And it sounds like from this article,
right now, the WNBA is just insane. The facts in Caitlinclark's book, which recently peaked at #1 on Amazon's bestseller list, are making league officials more alarmed than they were during her rookie campaign. Everything the league attempted to conceal about their utter ineptitude is revealed in this book. There will be a stunning fallout. How long do you think it will take for the WNBA to try to disparage this book or criticize the author? Leave a comment below with your guesses.
Answered. What? Wait, what? Brennan was shocked. Maya Moore, a Hall of Famer, was called, quote, the greatest winner in the history of women's basketball by Sports Illustrated in 2017. She was talented, beloved superstar in the league, and she deserved all the attention. But outside the league, Moore went virtually unnoticed. So Christine Brennan knew Caitlin Clark was not going to go unnoticed at all. Clark.
As a result, when someone switches on the lights, we are all watching the WNBA scramble like cockroaches. Her Game by Christine Brennan. The Revolution in Women's Sports by Caitlin Clark has risen to the top of the Amazon bestseller list. And believe me when I say that the league executives are most likely holding urgent meetings at this very moment to attempt to find out how to control the damage.
Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA than Tiger Woods was to men's golf, even though he was huge. And to then see this negativity, like why? And what should have been done? I looked seriously at the leadership of the WNBA. And how could you not be prepared for this moment? You've seen it happening in the Big Ten. You've seen it in Iowa. You see these TV ratings.
Additionally, this isn't just any book. Christine Brennan, a seasoned sports journalist who has covered women's basketball for longer than the majority of these players have been alive, wrote this. She's not just any random social media star or blogger trying to get attention. Her allegations regarding the league's inefficiency are all the more damaging because she has spent decades working in the trenches of women's sports journalism.
To shake the ground of the WNBA. She's been around for a very long time, and she knows the inner and outer workings of this league. Christine Brennan let it be known in multiple interviews that the WNBA was not ready for a superstar like Caitlin Clark.
You can infer all you need to know about the public's interest in the true story behind Caitlin Clark's treatment from the fact that this book soared to the top. People who enjoy heartwarming sports tales aren't purchasing this book. They want to know the truth about what actually transpired during Clark's transition to professional basketball, which is why they are purchasing it. And they're getting it, boy. Let's discuss the shocking discovery that has everyone in a frenzy. According to Brennan, Clark called a senior league official the day after declaring for the WNBA draft to see whether they understood what was about to happen. In reaction, the administrators likened Clark's possible influence to Maya Moore's entry into the league. Can you believe that, Maya Moore?
Is filling in for Mace. I've been looking forward to this all week. Christine Brennan is one of the best sports writers in the country, has been for a long time. And she has a new book out about Caitlin Clark. It's available for pre-order now.
Don't get me wrong. Maya Moore was a gifted athlete who should be respected for her achievements. However, it would be like comparing a firecracker to a nuclear bomb to compare Clark's popular appeal to that of Maya Moore. In the world of basketball, Moore was adored. Yes, but she was mostly unknown to the general public aside from ardent supporters of women's basketball. Brennan saw right away that the league had no idea what they were up against. In college, this second-year player was already shattering viewership records, selling out venues wherever she performed, and creating more talk than the WNBA as a whole had in years. Additionally, the league's senior executives believed that this would be simply another gifted rookie joining the ranks.
Home like everybody else. And I think, guys, that actually helped me understand as a journalist the fascination, because I've covered a lot over my career and been very fortunate to be at Wimbledon's and Super Bowls and Tiger Woods and you name it, I've covered it. And I'm so lucky to have done that. And I found myself fascinated, who is this? And I'm getting text messages from guys who would never have watched a second of women's basketball. Good guys, they want their daughters to play sports. I mean, good people, but just And they're texting, are you there? I'm watching. Are you seeing this performance? And that told me something that I actually was very helpful to be at home watching it versus being on press row, talking to a bunch of other journalists, that okay, there's something going on in the country here. And it's everyone's fascinated and people are standing in line for hours in the cold around the Big Ten, this barnstorming tour. And it's all about a basketball player who happens to be a woman.
This demonstrates an astounding degree of institutional blindness. These individuals are meant to be in charge of a professional sports league, making strategic choices on player development, marketing, and scheduling. However, they failed to see the most glaring marketing opportunity in women's sports history when it was right in front of them. This is made much more annoying by the fact that Clark's fame didn't just appear out of nowhere. She had spent years at Iowa cultivating this enormous fan base. 10-foot-tall neon letters were used to write on the wall. However, the WNBA's executives were reading with their eyes closed for whatever reason.
The thing I don't get, Christine, is that in the case of Tiger and in the case of Jordan, the other players and the league around them, in Tiger's case, the PGA Tour, realized that a rising tide raises all boats and were incredibly supportive of Tiger and Jordan. With Caitlyn, it seems like, for whatever reason, she's polarizing. She's been hit with more flagrant fouls than any player ever this year. They tried to come at you when you were writing a story and said, don't ask questions about why people don't like Caitlinclark. But I'm going to ask you, Christine, why is she polarizing in your opinion? Why do people not embrace the phenomenon that is Caitlinclark?
It's one of the big points in the book. I deal with all of this and my research and reporting, because I was perplexed as well. I mean, this is the greatest moment ever for the WNBA. Yep. We wish it happened sooner. Of course we wish it happened sooner. There were amazing players who, as you know, both you guys know, were toiling in obscurity, the male-dominated mainstream sports media ignoring them.
Brennan's book reveals how this basic misconception resulted in a series of lost chances and poor choices. From the start, the league's marketing approach was entirely flawed. They handled their new superstar like any other draft pick who needed to earn her stripes, rather than centering their whole marketing strategy around her. Do you recall the league's commercial in which a casual employee introduced the WNBA to fans? From the start, that ought to have been Clark. Every advertisement, social media campaign, and piece of promotional material should have featured her. Rather, by allowing her to play for their priceless little club, the league pretended to be doing her a favor. According to the book, the Indiana Fever weren't even ready for the expected large throng. Security personnel were astonished to find fans waiting outside 2 hours before the doors opened for Clark's first preseason game. A preseason WNBA game takes 2 hours. Like a Pacers playoff game, the parking garages were packed. That preseason game drew 14,000 spectators, which the venue staff had never witnessed before. The man who works at the parking garage claimed that he has only saw such large crowds for important Pacers games, not Fever games. Despite having months to prepare, they physically lacked the infrastructure necessary to manage the Clark effect.
It wasn't just bad planning.
It was deliberate ignorance. Everyone had access to the same data, including the league. They had access to Clark's social media following, television ratings, and college attendance statistics, but they decided to disregard them all and act as though nothing would change. This negligence has astounding financial ramifications. Dr. Ryan Brewer's research of Clark's economic impact is cited in the book. The figures were so startling that he believed he had erred. The results appeared too good to be true, so he repeated the computations. One player might have an economic impact of hundreds of millions of dollars. Rates for television advertising, restaurant purchases, hotel reservations, and merchandise revenue. Every facet of the women's basketball economy was impacted by Clark's presence, and the league nearly lost this chance because they were unable to look past their own narrow expectations. The league's cultural issues, which made this catastrophe inevitable, are also revealed in the book. Some WNBA administrators and players seem to believe that the league's identity is somehow compromised by mainstream success. For a professional sports organization, this is the most archaic way of thinking. In an interview with sociologist Harry Edwards, Brennan noted that the league ought to have given current players workshops to help them get ready for Clark's arrival and the attention it would bring. The league just tossed Clark into the lion's den and hoped for the best, rather than assisting players in realizing how her fame would benefit everyone. From a psychological standpoint, here is where the book really shines. Edward proposed that the league might have told the players that everyone would benefit from Clark's success, including bigger broadcast contracts, higher earnings, more sponsorship opportunities, and enhanced visibility. Rather, it appears that a lot of players interpret her popularity as a zero-sum game in which their own success means less. Brennan examines racial interactions, which are particularly delicate but crucial. She doesn't hide the fact that a large portion of Clark's fan base isn't familiar with women's basketball. Additionally, some of these new supporters may not share the political beliefs of league officials and current players. According to the book, the league ought to have anticipated this cultural conflict rather than acting as though it wouldn't occur. There will be some conflict when hundreds of thousands of new fans with diverse viewpoints start interacting with your product. Astute leadership would have foreseen this and created plans to deal with it in a positive way. Rather, every facet of the Clark phenomenon appeared to have taken the league by surprise. The masses caught them off guard. The media attention caught them off guard. The cash windfall caught them off guard. Furthermore, they were undoubtedly unprepared for the cultural ramifications. The WNBA is being shocked by the book's commercial success since it makes its ineptitude visible to a wider audience. Basketball experts are not the only ones reading about league politics. This is the general public discovering how poorly the WNBA handled their greatest chance in franchise history. For the league, the timing of this book's publication is especially detrimental. Now in her second season, Clark is still setting records and increasing popularity. Every game she plays in front of large crowds serves as a reminder of what the league nearly squandered away due to their own foolishness. Brennan's disclosures have important global ramifications as well. Women's basketball is rising globally, and the WNBA had a chance to position itself as the unchallenged leader of that trend. Clark's appeal wasn't only domestic. She was bringing American women's basketball to the attention of people throughout the world. However, Clark's excellence was overshadowed by the league's turmoil. The league's marketing division was totally unprepared for the Clark sensation, as the book reveals. They lacked a thorough plan to leverage her fame, an awareness of her target audience, and a way to maintain the momentum she was creating. Any competent corporation should have been able to tackle these fundamental business strategy issues with ease. Your entire marketing plan revolves around a generational star who is entering your league and has enormous mainstream appeal. They are not treated like any other employee who must demonstrate their abilities. Brennan's documentation of the shortcomings in media strategy is as scathing. The league let negative voices take over the debate rather than managing the story surrounding Clark's entry and highlighting the beneficial effects she was having. They neglected to defend their own product when it was being criticized and allowed coaches and players to make derogatory remarks without retaliating. According to the book, certain members of the organization were aware of what was going on and attempted to raise the alarm, but decision-makers who were too set in their ways to change with the times seemed to disregard them. This is a prime example of institutional inertia impeding vital reform. Particularly annoying are the scheduling choices that Brennan reveals. By scheduling Clark's games in ideal markets and prime broadcast times, the league had every chance to maximize her impact. Rather, they appear to make a special effort to reduce her exposure, as if they were ashamed of their own achievements. Another illustration of the league's incapacity is the merchandising blunders detailed in the book. From the beginning, Clark's jerseys and equipment ought to have been widely available, but the league was unable to maintain even the most basic inventory. They failed to handle fundamental supply chain management, leaving millions of dollars on the table. The gap between what fans genuinely desire and what league executives believe they want is another aspect of the book's success. It's obvious that people are eager for frank assessments of the Clark incident and how the league handled it. There is a huge market for this kind of content, as evidenced by the fact that this book soared to the top. The league's leadership has been heavily criticized on social media in response to the book's disclosures. Quotations and statements that highlight the WNBA's ignorance of their own circumstances are being shared. For a company that was already having credibility problems, it's turning into a PR nightmare. The book also reveals how the league's dysfunction is sustained by the mainstream media. Many traditional sports reporters seem to support the notion that Clark's popularity was somehow problematic rather than advantageous, rather than pointing out blatant mismanagement. In a media landscape where many reporters are reluctant to criticize women's sports, especially when such criticism is obviously justified, Brennan's willingness to tell the tale candidly is welcome. She has no interest in upholding politically correct tales or defending sentiments. Her main goal is to record the real events. The book's economic data is disastrous for the league's standing. It raises severe concerns about the league's leadership qualities when you have concrete data demonstrating that one player had an economic impact of hundreds of millions while the league nearly botched the entire process due to their own stupidity. The book shows that Clark's predicament wasn't the only issue facing the NFL. They encompass basic problems with the organization's functioning. The leadership appears to be more interested in politics than in expanding the sport, the marketing is amateurish, and the business plan is illogical. Brennan's global viewpoint is very helpful in this narrative. She knows how other leagues and organizations have effectively promoted their stars because she has covered women's basketball all across the world. The WNBA's strategy was wholly inconsistent with global best practices. This story is far from over, as the book makes apparent. The league are still having trouble figuring out how to deal with the phenomena that has been bestowed upon them, and Clark is still in the early stages of her career. Whether they will grow from their errors or keep making the same blunders is the question. These disclosures have important ramifications for corporate support. Big businesses seek to collaborate with capable companies that can optimize their marketing expenditures. Potential sponsors are reluctant to participate after learning about the league's turmoil and lost possibilities. The documentation of internal league politics in the book is very harmful. According to Brennan, there were groups within the company that were genuinely against Clark's achievements, believing it to be in some way a challenge to the established culture of the league. The reason the incident was handled so badly can be largely attributed to self-destructive thinking. Brennan's book contains fan testimonies that provide as compelling proof of Clark's influence. They are not merely basketball enthusiasts. These individuals had never watched women's basketball before, but Clark's captivating narrative and thrilling style of play captivated them. The league's attempts at damage control have only made matters worse, as the book reveals. They have doubled down on unsuccessful tactics and attempted to lessen Clark's impact rather than owning up to their errors and changing their strategy. It's similar to witnessing someone continue to excavate their own grave. Brennan's historical background makes the league's shortcomings all the more unacceptable. For many years, women's basketball has battled for widespread acceptability, and the league viewed Caitlinclark's eventual admittance as a hassle rather than a blessing. The popularity of the book also indicates that there is a strong need for material that questions the conventional wisdom around women's sports. Instead of the polished cheerleading that frequently passes for sports writing in this field, people want frank commentary. According to Brandon's psychological profiles of important decision-makers, the leadership class was wholly unprepared for success. When the spotlight eventually came, they were unable to adjust since they were so accustomed to functioning in the background. The book details how Clark and other players were impacted by the league's dysfunction. Team chemistry, player development, and league culture are all impacted when your brightest star is surrounded by a poisonous atmosphere. Brennan's exposure of the shortcomings in media training is especially damaging. It appears that the league gave coaches and players no advice on how to deal with the additional media attention that Clark was bringing. This resulted in a number of readily preventable PR catastrophes. According to the book, certain members of the organization were aware of the issues early on, but institutional resistance prevented them from making the required adjustments. This is a prime example of an organization being its own worst enemy. Beyond basketball, the league's poor management has global ramifications. The WNBA's dysfunction became part of the narrative, but American women's sports had a chance to demonstrate professionalism and excellence on a worldwide scale. The WNBA's utter incompetence was just made public by Christine Brennan's book. To be honest, it's about time. The league had every chance to capitalize on the Caitlinclark phenomena, but instead made a horrible mess of it. For stuff that doesn't sugarcoat the reality, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more harsh analysis on sports league failures.
Dear